Stephanie, it was the first high-security prison break at Clinton Correctional in over a century. And like you said, the over 150-page report calls for the prison's security and management inadequate.
The extent of complacency and failure to adhere to the most basic security standards uncovered by my investigation was egregious and inexcusable.
New York State Inspector General Catherine Leahy Scott released her report on the unprecedented prison break. In her report, Scott points out several flaws at the prison that contributed to the break, including negligent or non-existent night counts, flawed cell searches and weekly inspections, inadequate employee screenings, and poor security oversight, and recommends strengthening front gate screening, more diligent night counts, more thorough, frequent cell searches, and expanded security cameras. But the report didn't stop there, saying cell searches were hasty and cursory and failed to find any contraband 96% of the time. In fact, a document search of Matt's cell on March 21, 2015 failed to detect the 18.5-inch by 14-inch hole in the rear wall of the cell that is only approximately 48 square feet. A proper cell search would have found the breach and thwarted the escape. Both Matt and Sweat worked in the prison's tailor shop, but Sweat was reassigned to work in the library in September 2014 after security staff reported concerns about Sweat's sexual relationship with the shop's civilian supervisor, Joyce Mitchell. The IG's report confirms allegations that she was in a sort of relationship with Sweat as well as with Matt. In addition to smuggling escape tools and maps, Mitchell agreed to be a conduit to obtain cash for Matt and gathered items to assist their flight, including guns and ammunition, camping gear, clothing, and a compass. Even as she professed her love for Sweat, in notes she secretly sent him, Mitchell engaged in numerous sexual encounters with Matt in the tailor shop. The report goes on to read, Mitchell's improper interactions with inmates in the tailor shop were long known to her civilian supervisors and observed by correction officers assigned to ensure the security of the shop, yet no effective action was taken. In February of 2015, DOC's Office of Special Investigations, or OSI, investigated alleged rumors of an improper relationship between Mitchell and Sweat. The report reads, by OSI's own admission, this investigation, which wrongly concluded the rumors were baseless, failed to interview a number of relevant witnesses and evaluate other evidence. A thorough investigation would have revealed Mitchell's criminal acts and foiled their escape. Now, the Inspector General made a special note of the fact that the investigation was made, quote, more difficult by lack of full cooperation from many prison staff. Her report cites incomplete testimony that was, again, quote, sometimes not credible, saying some employees said they didn't remember the night's events and that everyone seemed to know about the long-standing security lapses. Scott writes she finds these memory lapses, quote, reprehensible and a violation of state ethics laws. Live in the newsroom, Renee Wunderlich, WPTZ, News Channel 5.
The former superintendent of Clinton Correctional Facility, Steve Rissett, reacted to the Inspector General's report tonight. Speaking on the phone to WPTZ, Rissett defended the COs at the prison, saying the report points out specifics of what led to the escape, but doesn't talk about the majority of the staff that does a great job with extreme professionalism under overwhelmingly difficult conditions. Rissett now admits he was forced to retire by the Department of Corrections acting commissioner Anthony Annucci, and Annucci insinuated that demand came straight from Governor Cuomo. Former Superintendent Rissett had been in charge for 1 year, not only at Clinton, but 6 other prisons in the region as well. Rissett says if he knew some corrections officers were not doing their jobs correctly, he would have taken action. But that information never got to his level. Also, Rissett says in his 5 years as superintendent at prisons around the state, he had never asked for a lockdown or a frisk of a facility before. But when he did, days before the escape, he was rejected. The reason? Albany said the prison was running well. He sees many contradictions in this report, and Rissett says he hasn't yet decided if it's fair or not. He did point out the report shows how just a couple of people, specifically Joyce Mitchell and former CO Gene Palmer, can cause a lot of harm and damage. But Rissett says he's grateful for the support he's received from the corrections officers and the community, and he pointed out especially Assemblywoman Janet Dupree in the past year. We contacted Clinton Correctional Facility for a response today to all of this, and Lieutenant Gregory LaFrance told us, quote, there is nobody available to make a comment on the report at this time. But we received the following statement from a DOCS spokesperson out of Albany, saying the department is reviewing the findings and plans on working with the IG's office to implement the recommendations to improve operations at Clinton and help ensure something like this never happens again. The statement also says reforms that have been made since last June at the prison, including installing new cameras and security gates, retraining staff, disciplining responsible employees, appointing a new superintendent, and replacing other senior administrative personnel have all happened. The report also expounded on some changes that are being implemented, like increased use of metal detectors at the front gate and random employee pat-downs using electronic devices to verify night counts were done, and thermal image sensors to make sure inmates are in their cells, making cell searches more thorough, including checking the integrity of cell walls, and increased enforcement of policies regarding proper conduct between inmates and employees. We also reached out to Clinton County District Attorney Andrew Wiley, who oversaw the prosecution of 3 people in connection with the escape, and he said he needed to read the more than 150-page document thoroughly before he would have a formal comment. Well, everyone in the North Country ended up being part of this story, and everyone has a story to tell. Over the past several days, we caught up with many people who said that the manhunt was something they will never forget.
Dannemora is a small community way in upstate New York that most people don't know about. I've lived here my whole life, went to school right across the street.
I was born and raised here.
We've been here about 6 years.
My husband grew up here in Lake Titus. On TV, we heard on the news that they broke out of Dannemora.
And I remember getting a phone call from my daughter and said that 2 inmates had went down the tunnel in front of my house. We've always known this tunnel was here. It's a pretty big tunnel.
Where was I? Sleeping.
We were home.
We were here.
We have support all around us.
Once the word got out there, it's quite a bit of excitement.
Get in the house, lock the doors.
In the beginning, they thought the prisoners might be in this area.
Well, it was kind of a crazy time. I remember coming back to the area. You can't go down that street. That's where the inmates got out. I said, I know that, but I said, I live in that little beige house right there.
We went up to go to the bank and we couldn't get through.
They were lined up with buses, and troopers were all over the place.
And we used to sit on the front porch, and there was 900 people here. They'd all come out and line up in the street here like in military gear.
They were watching around the house and they kept their eye on us.
They had roadblocks in several places, just asked you to look in the trunk.
You're all set, thank
We
you.
just cooperated with whatever they needed. We had plenty of protection, that's for sure. I wasn't too worried about it.
We had the nastiest weather, nastiest June I think we've had in 30 years. You'd watch those poor guys come back and they were soaked right down to their socks.
Personally, I had a feeling these guys were long gone. They weren't in this area.
Come to find out they were up in Mountain View. And then that's when we found out they were here. With the helicopter circling right here. It was scary. Because we never have no commotion like that going on.
We are here with good news. As I'm sure you've heard already, the nightmare is finally over.
I'm glad nobody else was hurt. They got what they were looking for.
But I'm glad it's over with.
Don't think of it at all.
Who knows where Dannemora is if, until this, and that kind of put us on the world map.
I can't think of a better place to be.
No place like home, I guess I say.
You might be wondering whatever happened to that $100,000 reward for information leading to the arrest of Richard Matt or David Sweat. We spoke with the Goki family. You'll remember their camper was shot at by Richard Matt. They hired a lawyer to seek the money. They were unsuccessful. They said, our son will be graduating in June. The reward money would have helped toward furthering his education. I guess we just want to concentrate on the good things that are happening in our lives, and I thank God we are all here to celebrate it. Our calls to the U.S. Marshal's Office about the reward money were not returned today. Our coverage continues online and on our free mobile app. There, we've posted a link that brings you to the full Inspector General's report, a slideshow featuring photos included in the report, plus a comprehensive video look back at the escape and manhunt. There's also a ton of other content related to the escape, its aftermath, and the one-year anniversary. Again, you can find that all at WPTZ.com or in our mobile app, which is available for free in Google Play or the App Store.